And then I got caught up with this other piece of shit, Don King, who's just a wretched, slimy, reptilian motherfucker.
Mike Tyson and Don King once shared a dynamic partnership that electrified the boxing world. Their bond seemed unbreakable, as if the two were joined at the hip, making decisions together and riding the wave of Mike's booming career. But as time went on, the cracks began to show. From taking advantage of Mike Tyson's deteriorating mental health to exploiting every single earning from his bouts, King left no stone unturned when it came to sucking Tyson dry for everything he was worth.
In 2003, you beat up Don King.
I was pretty immature in 2003. I was really upset. And I've done things I shouldn't have done. I really loved Don, and I really didn't mean to do that stuff back then.
With that being said, join us as we dive into how King destroyed Mike's life and career. From a street hustler to a renowned boxing promoter, now King's life before meeting Tyson was just as colorful, if not more. Born Donald King on August 20th, 1931 in Cleveland, Ohio, King had a wild upbringing. He attended John Adams High School and even tried out Kent State University, but formal education? Not for him. Instead, he found his hustle in the streets. In Cleveland, he was running a numbers racket, a sort of underground lottery system that wasn't exactly legal, but brought in a hefty income. In 1954, a young Don King found himself at the center of a dark and deadly incident, one that would mark the beginning of a controversial chapter in his life. Back then, King wasn't the renowned boxing promoter we know today. He was a streetwise entrepreneur running gambling houses in Cleveland. One fateful day, a man named Hillary Brown crossed paths with King, and their encounter turned fatal. Brown reportedly attempted to rob one of King's gambling operations, sparking a violent confrontation. According to King, it was a case of self-defense. Brown, he claimed, was the aggressor. It was a story fit for the gritty streets King operated on: danger, money, and a desperate move gone wrong. Despite the grim outcome, King didn't face charges. The case was murky, the lines of guilt and innocence blurred, and in the end, King walked away from the incident with his freedom intact. But the drama in Don King's life didn't end there. King found himself entangled in another fatal altercation, this time with a man named Sam Garrett. Garrett wasn't just any passerby. He was an employee of King's. Working in the shadows of the illegal numbers game business King was deeply involved in, Garrett owed King $600, a sum that, in those days, carried a lot more weight than it might today. The tension between the two men escalated when King confronted Garrett about the debt. What followed was a brutal and tragic turn of events. Witnesses recount a savage scene. King, furious and determined to get his money, physically attacked Garrett. In a fit of rage, King physically assaulted Garrett so violently that he ultimately passed away. Unlike the previous incident with Hillary Brown, this time King couldn't claim self-defense. The evidence against him was undeniable, and the consequences were severe. He was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Don King was once asked how he killed a man in a fistfight, a question that cut straight to the core of his controversial past. King, ever the showman but serious in that moment, responded that they were fighting when he fell headfirst on the concrete. It must have been a pretty bad blow. He expressed deep contrition for it since it happened, acknowledging that he was instrumental in the fatality of a fellow human being who happened to be one of his personal friends. The incident he was talking about was the tragic altercation with Sam Garrett, a moment that would haunt King for the rest of his life. Garrett wasn't just some faceless opponent, he was a friend. Someone King had known and worked with. During King's trial, the prosecution didn't hold back. They argued that King's actions went beyond the heat of the moment. They claimed they were intentional and excessively brutal. This was the foundation of the second-degree murder charge, suggesting King's intent to harm Garrett was clear. Things were looking grim for King, and a second-degree murder conviction meant serious prison time. But King's legal team wasn't about to let him go down without a fight of their own. They negotiated hard, pushing the narrative that while the situation was tragic, King hadn't set out to unalive Garrett. It was an emotional and brutal moment, yes, but it lacked the premeditation necessary for a murder conviction. After some legal maneuvering, they struck a deal, a plea to a lesser charge of non-negligent manslaughter. This charge recognized the fatal outcome of King's actions, but framed it as something less deliberate, more a terrible consequence of a heated argument gone too far. The court accepted the plea, and King was sentenced to serve time in prison. Don King's life took a sharp turn when he entered the gates of the Marion Correctional Institution in Ohio. He would serve nearly 4 years after his conviction for the death of Sam Garrett. Behind bars, King was no ordinary inmate. Rather than sinking into bitterness or anger, he focused on self-improvement. King reportedly became a model prisoner, using his time to reflect on the choices that had brought him to this point. He dove into education, reading extensively, and participating in various programs. The experience, he later claimed, helped him see the world differently. He realized that life had given him a second chance, and he intended to make the most of it. By 1971, King's good behavior earned him early release on parole, and with the weight of his past behind him, he set his sights on a new beginning. Entering the world of boxing promotion, King knew he had to work fast to make a name for himself. He wasn't just stepping into any industry. Boxing was a world filled with larger-than-life personalities, fierce competition, and no shortage of shady dealings. But King had something others didn't: charisma, street smarts, and a network of connections that would prove invaluable. His first big break came in 1972, just a year after his release. King organized a charity exhibition match featuring none other than Muhammad Ali, the most famous boxer in the world at the time. The exhibition aimed to raise funds for a hospital in Cleveland, and though it was a charity event, it was also King's official introduction to the boxing world. The event was a success, and King, with his natural gift for promotion, had made a mark. But the real game changer came in 1974. King managed to secure the rights to promote what would become one of the most legendary boxing matches in history, the Rumble in the Jungle. The fight, held in Zaire, pitted Muhammad Ali against the undefeated heavyweight champion, George Foreman. The event was unlike anything the boxing world had ever seen. With the fight taking place on foreign soil, the stakes were astronomical. King's involvement in organizing and promoting the fight elevated him from a newcomer to an international sensation almost overnight. Throughout the 1970s, Don King became the name synonymous with the glitz and glamour of professional boxing. King wasn't just a promoter. He was a showman, a larger-than-life character with a signature hairstyle that made him impossible to miss. But his real magic was his ability to bring the world's biggest fights to life. Whether it was Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, or George Foreman, if you were a top fighter in the 70s, you were almost certainly in King's orbit. His knack for organizing and promoting events like the famous Thrilla in Manila between Ali and Frazier turned him into a dominant figure in the sport. He didn't just make fights happen, he made them global spectacles that captivated millions of fans. King was at the peak of his game, organizing massive events that were talked about for years. He had the Midas touch, and anything he touched in boxing seemed to turn into gold. But with success came shadows. King's career wasn't just a victory lap of high-profile bouts, it was also marred by controversy. Over the years, he earned a reputation for being just as fierce outside the ring as the fighters he promoted inside it. Accusations of underpaying fighters, shady business deals, and legal battles swirled around him like a cloud. For every fighter that praised him, another would accuse him of taking advantage. But despite the lawsuits and whispers of unethical behavior, King always managed to stay one step ahead, charming his way through the storm, his empire intact. While King was making waves in the world of boxing, a future legend was growing up in a very different world in Brooklyn, New York. Future boxing champion Mike Tyson. Born on June 30th, 1966, Tyson didn't have the easiest start in life. By the time he was 12, he had already been in trouble with the law. He found himself at the Tryon School for Boys, a reform school in Johnstown, New York. But sometimes, life throws unexpected opportunities in your path. And for Tyson, that opportunity came in the form of former boxer Bobby Stewart, who worked at the school. Stewart saw potential in the troubled Tyson and began to train him. It didn't take long for Stewart to realize that Tyson had something special, something raw, powerful, and terrifying. So, he introduced Tyson to someone who would change his life forever, the legendary boxing trainer Cus D'Amato. If Stewart unlocked Tyson's potential, D'Amato was the one who would polish it into pure boxing brilliance. D'Amato, who was no stranger to shaping champions, saw in Tyson not just a great fighter, but the makings of a heavyweight beast. He took Tyson under his wing, not only training him, but also becoming his legal guardian and mentor. Someone once asked Mike Tyson what he thought of Cuss when he first met him. Tyson paused, his mind drifting back to that pivotal moment in his life. He began by saying it was hard to describe Cuss. He was different from other people. Tyson noted that he was good at reading people based on first impressions, but it was difficult with Cuss. He felt that Cuss took him in easily, as if there was nothing he wanted from him. Over the years, he got to know him better, though he still felt he didn't know him as well as he'd like to. Tyson reflected on how amazing everything had been, saying Cuss accepted him like a son off the street. This moment marked the beginning of an incredible journey for Tyson, a journey that would transform him from a troubled kid into a boxing phenomenon. Cus D'Amato was not just any trainer. He was a mentor, a father figure, and a man with a keen eye for potential. Under D'Amato's watchful guidance, Tyson honed his skills, adopting the distinctive peekaboo boxing style. This technique was all about staying low, keeping the hands up, and delivering powerful counterpunches. It was a style that would soon have opponents quaking in their boots. Tyson's rise was meteoric. Between 1980 and 1981, he plunged into various amateur competitions, showcasing his raw talent and fierce aggression. Each fight was an opportunity, and Tyson seized them all, his knockout power striking fear into the hearts of his challengers. The 1981 and 1982 Junior Olympic Games were particularly memorable for the young boxer. He didn't just participate, he dominated. Tyson walked away with gold medals, and in a moment that would go down in history, he set a record for the quickest knockout in Junior Olympic history, taking just 8 seconds to end his opponent's hopes. Cus D'Amato recalled that when he first saw Mike in the ring with Bobby Stewart, he noticed that although Mike didn't have much skill, he had a quality of determination. Those words would prove prophetic as Mike Tyson began his ascent to boxing greatness, carrying with him the lessons and spirit instilled by D'Amato. Tyson made his professional debut on March 6, 1985, and it was nothing short of explosive. He faced off against Hector Mercedes, and within moments, Tyson showcased his raw power, winning the match by a first-round knockout. However, this was just the beginning. Throughout 1985, Tyson fought an incredible 15 times, each match ending in a knockout victory. The boxing world couldn't help but take notice. A storm was brewing, and Tyson was at the center of it. But the triumphs were bittersweet. On November 4, 1985, tragedy struck when Cus D'Amato passed away. This loss was more than just a professional setback for Tyson. It was a devastating blow to his heart. D'Amato had been more than a trainer. He was a father figure, a guiding light in Tyson's turbulent life. Tyson's voice trembled with emotion as he recalled that D'Amato had met him when he was just a little kid and had said he would be the world champ. He paused, feeling the weight of nostalgia in the air, adding that Cus didn't like it when he showed emotion. This was a reminder of the tough love D'Amato had given him, teaching him to channel his feelings into the ring. In the wake of D'Amato's passing, Tyson needed a new direction, and he found it in Kevin Rooney, who had been D'Amato's assistant trainer. Rooney took the reins, and under his watchful eye, Tyson continued to dominate the boxing scene. Then in 1986, Tyson made boxing history. He became the youngest heavyweight champion ever at just 20 years old. He achieved this remarkable feat by defeating Trevor Berbick with a TKO in the second round, claiming the WBC heavyweight title. But Tyson wasn't done yet. By the end of 1986, he had also snatched up the WBA and IBF titles, proudly declaring himself the undisputed heavyweight champion. The boxing world was abuzz with his achievements, and Tyson was becoming a household name, known not just for his ferocity in the ring, but for his incredible speed and skill. In 1987, Tyson defended his titles against formidable opponents like James Smith, Pinklon Thomas, Tony Tucker, and Tyrell Biggs, solidifying his reputation as a media sensation. Each fight was a showcase of power, precision, and strategy, and Tyson thrived under the spotlight. Then, in 1988, he continued his reign of terror in the ring, taking down legends like Larry Holmes and Tony Tubbs, both falling victim to Tyson's knockout punch. With each match, Tyson's legend grew. He wasn't just a boxer, he was a global sports icon, captivating audiences around the world. As Mike Tyson basked in the glory of his early boxing triumphs, life outside the ring began to throw him some serious punches. The year was 1988, and while Tyson was racking up victories and accolades, his personal life was spiraling into chaos. His marriage to actress Robin Givens was a whirlwind of drama, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The couple's relationship was like a roller coaster, full of ups and downs, twists and turns, and ultimately ending in a spectacular crash when they divorced in 1989. It was a tumultuous time for Tyson, one that left him feeling vulnerable and exposed. But that wasn't the only storm brewing. Tyson's relationship with his trainer Kevin Rooney began to deteriorate around the same time. Rooney had been a crucial part of Tyson's success, but tensions grew, and the bond they shared eventually frayed, leading to Rooney's dismissal. Losing such a pivotal figure in his corner left Tyson feeling directionless, like a ship lost at sea without a compass. Amidst this turmoil, another figure entered Tyson's life, the infamous boxing promoter Don King. Known for his sharp business acumen and often controversial tactics, King saw Tyson's vulnerability as an opportunity. He swooped in like a hawk, offering promises of financial security and grand visions of glory that were hard for Tyson to resist. King knew how to spin a story, and he was a master at crafting a narrative that captivated audiences. In 1988, Tyson officially signed with Don King, severing ties with his previous managers, Bill Caton and Jim Jacobs. It was a turning point for the boxer, who was desperate for guidance and support. King promised him greater control over his career and lucrative deals that would ensure his financial stability. Their relationship was complex from the get-go. King played the role of mentor and father figure, offering Tyson the protection and guidance he desperately needed. Yet lurking behind King's charm was his notorious reputation for shady business practices, casting a shadow over their partnership. Despite the potential pitfalls, Tyson's career soared under King's promotion. From the late 1980s to the early 1990s, Tyson's name became synonymous with boxing greatness. He was a knockout artist, dominating the ring and leaving opponents in his wake. King had a way of creating hype, making every fight an event, and Tyson thrived in that spotlight. As Mike Tyson rose through the ranks of boxing, he became more than just a champion, he became a global sensation. His ferocious power and charismatic personality made him one of the most recognizable sports figures in the world. But behind the glitz and glam of victory, Tyson faced a myriad of personal and legal challenges that threatened to overshadow his success. During these turbulent times, Don King stepped into the ring, not just as a promoter, but as Tyson's defender and confidant. One of the most pivotal moments in their partnership occurred on August 1st, 1987, during a highly anticipated fight against Tony Tucker. This was no ordinary match. It was a unification bout for the undisputed heavyweight championship. Tyson, already holding the WBA and WBC titles, was set to face Tucker, the reigning IBF heavyweight champion. The venue was the glamorous Las Vegas Hilton, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Don King was at the helm, orchestrating this monumental event that would mark the beginning of his formal involvement in Tyson's career. As the fighters entered the ring, the atmosphere was electric. Fans buzzed with anticipation, and the weight of history loomed large. Tyson fought with the ferocity that had become his trademark, displaying not only his knockout power, but also the strategy and skill he honed under the watchful eye of his trainers. After a hard-fought battle, Tyson emerged victorious by unanimous decision, securing the IBF title and officially claiming the title of undisputed heavyweight champion. This victory not only solidified Tyson's status as the best heavyweight boxer in the world, but also showcased King's remarkable talent for organizing and promoting high-profile boxing events. Now the future would bring complications between Tyson and King. However, it's crucial to acknowledge the significant role King played in Tyson's ascent to superstardom, fame, and massive wealth. With King in his corner, Tyson was able to leverage his fighting prowess into financial success. King's knack for negotiating lucrative deals and securing impressive pay-per-view revenues ensured that Tyson earned millions from his bouts. This financial windfall catapulted Tyson to the ranks of one of the highest-paid athletes of his time. In the late 1980s, Tyson's name became synonymous with boxing greatness, and his financial success was a testament to the dynamic partnership he had with King. King's promotional strategies and media savvy helped transform Tyson into a global sports icon. His ability to generate buzz and create compelling narratives around Tyson's fights drew widespread media attention, significantly boosting Tyson's marketability and brand value. While the relationship between Don King and Mike Tyson was undeniably complex and often controversial, It wasn't all shadows and drama. In fact, there were bright spots that illuminated their partnership. King's promotional expertise, keen financial instincts, and knack for navigating the boxing world were instrumental in Tyson's rise to fame and solidified his enduring legacy in the sport. It's fair to say that Tyson wouldn't have reached such extraordinary heights without King's influence. But as with any gripping tale, just when everything seemed to be going well, Mike's life took a turn for the worst. An unforeseen twist emerged that changed Tyson's life forever. On February 10th, he was convicted of sexually assaulting Desiree Washington, an 18-year-old contestant in the Miss Black America pageant. The trial took place in Indianapolis and was a media frenzy, drawing the attention of not just boxing fans, but also the entire nation. Reporters, camera crews, and onlookers crowded the courtroom, eager to catch a glimpse of the heavyweight champion whose reputation hung in the balance. Throughout the trial, Tyson maintained his innocence, claiming that the encounter was consensual. Yet the prosecution presented a compelling case that swayed the jury. On March 26, 1992, the verdict came down. Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation. He was taken to the Indiana Youth Center, now known as the Plainfield Correctional Facility, where he began serving his sentence in April 1992. Even though Mike Tyson was a global superstar, his time in prison was anything but glamorous. He faced the same conditions and regulations as every other inmate. Of course, to keep him safe, the prison had to put in extra security and privacy measures, a nod to his celebrity status. But the reality was clear. Behind those walls, Tyson was just another inmate, navigating life in a place that didn't care about his heavyweight championship titles or his fame. Instead of succumbing to despair, Tyson made the most of his time behind bars. He focused on self-improvement and education, channeling his energy into transforming himself. One of the significant changes he made was converting to Islam and adopting the name Malik Abdul Aziz. This new identity gave him a sense of purpose and direction. He found comfort in his faith, which became a guiding force during those tough days. While in prison, Tyson didn't just sit around twiddling his thumbs. He dove into books, spending countless hours reading philosophy and history. He was on a quest for knowledge, eager to learn about the world outside those concrete walls. His efforts paid off when he earned his GED certificate. This achievement was no small feat, especially considering his turbulent early life and the lack of formal education he had experienced. It was a symbol of his determination to turn his life around, proving that he was more than just a boxer. Although Tyson's behavior was generally good, he wasn't immune to trouble. Like any other inmate, he faced disciplinary actions now and then. But he also made sure to stay in shape. He participated in recreational activities including boxing training, which allowed him to maintain his physical condition and prepare for his eventual return to the ring. Even behind bars, the spirit of the fighter within him never dimmed. After serving 3 years of his 6-year sentence, a major turning point arrived on March 25, 1995. Tyson was released on parole for good behavior. Tyson was released on parole for good behavior. His release was eagerly awaited in the boxing world. Fans, trainers, and promoters all held their breath, anticipating the moment when the former champion would step back into the spotlight. Plans for his comeback were quickly set in motion, as everyone wanted to witness the return of the baddest man on the planet. While Tyson was doing time, Don King, his longtime promoter, remained a vocal supporter. He publicly maintained that Tyson was innocent and a victim of racial prejudice and a biased legal system. King passionately expressed his belief that Tyson had been unfairly targeted, painting him as a scapegoat in a larger narrative about race and power. This unwavering loyalty provided Tyson with a sense of comfort, knowing that someone believed in him during his darkest moments. Even while Tyson was incarcerated, King didn't put his promotional empire on hold. He continued to promote other boxing events and fighters including stars like Julio Cesar Chavez and Felix Trinidad. His ability to keep the promotional company active and profitable demonstrated King's business acumen and determination to remain in the boxing limelight, even without Tyson by his side. Upon Mike Tyson's release in 1995, the boxing world buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Don King, his longtime promoter, stepped in to play a pivotal role in orchestrating Tyson's much-anticipated return to the ring. King had a flair for promoting high-profile fights, and he quickly set up matches that not only promised to reignite Tyson's career, but also generated substantial revenue for both men. It was a win-win situation. Tyson was back, and King was reaping the benefits. In 1996, Tyson's comeback gained momentum as he racked up a series of impressive victories. The most notable was when he regained the WBC heavyweight title by defeating Frank Bruno in a dramatic bout that showcased Tyson's formidable skills and unyielding determination. Shortly after that, he captured the WBA title by taking down Bruce Seldon. It seemed like Tyson was back in full force, reclaiming his throne as one of the most dominant heavyweights in boxing history. However, beneath the surface of his triumphs, tensions were brewing between Tyson and King. What had once been a symbiotic relationship began to show cracks, particularly when it came to financial matters. Tyson, once trusting and loyal, started to voice his dissatisfaction with King's management. He felt that King was exploiting him and mismanaging his finances, and this sentiment quickly morphed into frustration. The whispers of discontent grew louder, and soon Tyson found himself questioning the very man who had helped revive his career. The breaking point came in 1997, during the infamous rematch against Evander Holyfield. It was a fight that would go down in history not just for the boxing, but for the shocking and bizarre turn of events that unfolded. Known as the Bite Fight, the bout took a dramatic twist when Tyson, in a moment of sheer desperation and fury, bit Holyfield's ear, not once, but twice. The act resulted in Tyson's disqualification and suspension from boxing, marking a chaotic and scandalous chapter in his life. In the aftermath of the fight, Tyson's frustration boiled over. He publicly blamed King for not adequately preparing him for the bout, believing that the promoter had failed to ensure he was mentally and physically ready. By 1998, the relationship between Mike Tyson and Don King had soured significantly, reaching a boiling point that led Tyson to take drastic action. Tyson filed a staggering $100 million lawsuit against King. It accused him of fraud and financial mismanagement. This bold move sent shockwaves through the boxing world, highlighting the darker side of their partnership. Tyson's allegations painted a troubling picture of King's business practices. He claimed that King had siphoned off millions of dollars from his earnings through a series of elaborate schemes designed to line King's pockets while leaving Tyson in the dark. The former heavyweight champion alleged that King charged him exorbitant and often unnecessary expenses like inflated training costs and outrageous travel fees. Tyson felt as if King was treating him less like a valued client and more like a cash cow to be milked for all he was worth. In his lawsuit, Tyson detailed how King would manipulate financial details to his advantage. He claimed that King underreported total revenue from Tyson's fights, keeping a substantial portion of the earnings for himself while leaving Tyson to deal with the aftermath. It was as if Tyson's victories in the ring were overshadowed by the relentless financial battles he faced outside it. Furthermore, Tyson accused King of diverting funds into his own accounts through complex financial transactions and a web of shell companies. The story of Mike Tyson and Don King is one that blends the glitz and glamour of boxing fame with a darker underbelly of deception and betrayal. On the outside, Tyson was the reigning heavyweight champion, standing tall in the ring, a lion among men, earning millions for his incredible feats. But behind the curtain, a different story was unfolding. It was one filled with hidden contracts and questionable financial dealings that would soon threaten to topple Tyson's empire. Don King, the charismatic and notorious boxing promoter, had a way with words and a knack for striking deals that seemed almost too good to be true. But as Tyson would come to find out, those deals often came with strings attached, strings that were tightly woven into convoluted contracts filled with hidden clauses. These contracts were like a spider's web, ensnaring Tyson in a financial trap that he couldn't easily escape. King was skilled at extracting every possible dollar over time, making Tyson feel as if he were constantly working to pay off an invisible debt. On top of that, King allegedly extended personal loans and advances to Tyson. But here's the catch. These loans came with hefty interest rates. It was as if King was dangling a lifeline while simultaneously pulling Tyson deeper into a financial quicksand. Each time Tyson celebrated a victory and a big paycheck, King was right there, ready to justify taking a chunk of it, claiming it was to cover the loans he had provided. This cycle of borrowing and repayment left Tyson feeling increasingly trapped, as if he were running a marathon with no finish line in sight. Despite the millions Tyson raked in during his boxing career, he found himself facing mounting financial struggles. How could this be? The answer lay in the deceptive practices King employed, which systematically drained Tyson's earnings. The saga between Mike Tyson and Don King was nothing short of a heavyweight showdown. Only this time, the arena was the courtroom, and the stakes were incredibly high. Their legal battle was a protracted affair, stretching over years, and filled with twists and turns that kept the media buzzing and the public riveted. Tyson's lawsuit laid bare a plethora of financial improprieties that left many shocked. There were claims of inflated expenses that seemed to multiply like rabbits. On top of that, there were hidden fees that popped up out of nowhere, and a manipulation of fight purses that raised serious eyebrows. It was as if King had crafted a game of smoke and mirrors, where every victory for Tyson was overshadowed by questionable financial dealings lurking just beneath the surface. As the case dragged on, it became clear that the world of boxing was not just about the punches thrown in the ring, it was also about the complex financial maneuvers happening behind the scenes. The media feasted on the details, and with every new revelation, the public's fascination grew. Finally, after a grueling 6 years of legal wrangling that felt like a never-ending marathon, the lawsuit reached its conclusion in 2004. The outcome was a settlement. Don King agreed to pay Mike Tyson $14 million to put an end to the claims. While this sum was a significant acknowledgement of wrongdoing on King's part, it was far less than the eye-popping $100 million Tyson had initially sought. Still, this settlement offered Tyson a glimmer of financial relief amid his declining career and turbulent financial situation. However, as with many things in Tyson's life, the relief was bittersweet. This money, while welcome, was just a fraction of what he believed he had lost to King's alleged exploitation. By this time, Tyson had already weathered significant storms, and the financial winds were still not blowing in his favor. The settlement was a step towards justice, but did little to restore the financial standing that Tyson had once enjoyed. While King managed to maintain his position in the industry, the lawsuit and settlement brought to light the controversial nature of his business practices. For Mike Tyson, however, the outcome of the lawsuit was more than just financial. It felt more like a moral victory. His legal battle against King underscored the financial exploitation he had endured, highlighting the darker side of his rise to fame. The relief he gained from the settlement was limited, especially compared to the staggering amounts he believed he had lost. Still, Tyson emerged from the lawsuit feeling vindicated, even if it didn't completely restore his financial standing. Despite the settlement, Tyson's feelings towards King soured further. The former heavyweight champion didn't hold back in expressing his disdain for King, frequently using strong language to voice his opinions about his former promoter. In interviews and through the pages of his autobiography, Undisputed Truth, Tyson laid bare his grievances. He described King as manipulative and exploitative, laying blame for many of the financial and personal hardships he encountered during and after his boxing career squarely at King's feet. Tyson's anger was palpable as he recounted how he felt King had taken advantage of him during a vulnerable time in his life. Despite the bitter fallout from their explosive lawsuit, life had a way of throwing curveballs, leading to moments when Mike Tyson and Don King would unexpectedly cross paths again. However, their relationship never quite found its way back to the friendly territory it once occupied. Instead, any interactions between the two men felt more like polite nods across a crowded room than heartfelt reconciliations. The public nature of their past conflict loomed large, casting a long shadow over any attempts at rebuilding their professional and personal connection. However, fast forward to 2020, and a surprising snapshot emerged that caught the attention of fans and media alike. A picture of Tyson and King sharing a meal together in sunny Florida. This unexpected sighting hinted at a significant change in the air. Could it be that after years of animosity, Mike had finally decided to bury the hatchet with his former manager? It seemed so. Since that dinner, Tyson had been vocal about his transformation, often stating that he's no longer the same person he used to be. With a more calm and composed demeanor, he seemed eager to let go of past grievances. Looking back on their tumultuous history, Tyson chose to frame the entire experience as a valuable lesson in business. He reflected with a hint of irony that Don King had pretty much educated him and assured that it would never happen again. This perspective demonstrated Tyson's growth. He had transformed his anger into wisdom, ready to navigate the complexities of life and business with a keener eye. Interestingly, King seemed to echo Tyson's newfound outlook. In an interview with TMZ Sports, he expressed his affection for Mike, stating that he loved Tyson and had never had anything negative to say about him. The reconciliation appeared genuine, with King even taking the time to speak to Tyson and his wife on Mike's birthday, extending heartfelt birthday wishes and signifying a shift toward a more positive relationship. At the end of the day, there's a warmth that envelops the reunion of Mike Tyson and Don King. After all the ups and downs they've endured, it's genuinely heartwarming to see that they're still able to share laughs and spend time together. The past may have been rocky, filled with legal battles and betrayals, but this new chapter in their relationship feels like a sweet reconciliation, a testament to the idea that time can heal old wounds. However, the clouds of concern loom over King as his health has taken a noticeable downturn in 2024. Just recently, he completed a 10-day stay in the hospital where he received a blood transfusion. According to TMZ, he's now home, recuperating, and taking it easy. In a candid moment on Cameron and Mace's It Is What It Is podcast on September 20th, Tyson offered a sobering update on King's condition. He expressed concern that Don was not doing well. Tyson's worry reflected the affection and history they share despite their tumultuous past. Not one to let worries linger, Don King soon issued a statement disputing Tyson's claims. According to Oliver Salt from the Daily Mail, King declared that everyone should know he was doing fine and that he loved Mike Tyson. His vibrant spirit shone through, a reminder of the resilience that has marked his career. Even in the face of health challenges, King's love for the sport and his connection with Tyson remain strong. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.